Hello and welcome back to Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 124. I am recording on November 7th, 2025, and I just finished watching the movie, which was called Random Harvest. This was available on HBO Max, so I didn't pay anything extra for it. And it is a 1942 American romantic drama film based on the 1941 James Hilton novel of the same name, directed by Mervyn LeRoy. Claudine West, George Froschel, and Arthur Wimperis adapted the novel for the screen and received an Academy Award nomination. The novel keeps the true identity of Paula/Margaret a secret until the very end. Something that would have been impossible in a film where characters' faces must be seen. This meant that the movie had to take a very that makes sense. This meant that the movie had to take a very different approach to the story. The film stars Ronald Colman as a shell-shocked amnesiac World War I veteran and Greer Garson as his love interest. Ronald Colman has been in several of these movies. This is probably the third time that Greer Garson has shown up. I think Little Women, maybe fourth. I think Ronald Colman was in Tale of Two Cities, if I'm not mistaken. The film was an instant commercial success and was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. And those were Best Picture, Best Director for Mervyn LeRoy, Best Actor in a Leading Role for Ronald Colman, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Susan Peters, Best Writing Screenplay, Best Music Scoring of a Dramatic or Comedy Picture, Best Art Direction, Interior Decoration, Black and White. Produced by Sidney Franklin, cinematography by Joseph Ruttenberg, edited by Harold F. Kress, music by Herbert Stothart. Production company MGM, distributed by Loews Inc., released on December 17, 1942, with a runtime of 125 minutes. Despite its box office success, critics were not impressed at the time. James Agee wrote, "I would like to recommend this film to those who can stay interested in Ronald Colman's amnesia for 2 hours, who can with pleasure eat a bowl of Yardley's shaving soap for breakfast." In his New York Times review, Bosley Crowther, that name again, that's amazing, was of the opinion that for all its emotional excess, Random Harvest is a strangely empty film. Miss Garson and Mr. Colman are charming. They act perfectly, but they never seem real. Variety praised the performances of the two leads, in particular Garson, but noted that Colman seemed older than the role. Decades later, Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Chicago Reader allowed that it had a kind of deranged sincerity and integrity on its own terms. Leonard Maltin's capsule review reads, James Hilton novel given supremely entertaining MGM treatment with Colman and Garson at their best. Al Erickson wrote, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't believe a minute of Random Harvest, but the magic spell woven by the stars and author James Hilton transforms the wildly incredible into the wholly credible. The film was ranked 36th by the American Film Institute in its 2002 AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions list. In 1973, an episode of The Carol Burnett Show featured a spoof of the film called Rancid Harvest, with Carol Burnett and Greer Garson's role and Harvey Korman and Ronald Colman's. Okay, so this was fine. This is a tough one. I was distracted. Watched this a bit late at night on my phone a little distracted. This movie was batshit crazy, but also boring. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. Like, the performances were good. It was just real slow. So it really did not keep my interest much, except for a few moments. And this is kind of, even though it said, like, in the novel, they kept the secret of the true identity of Paula/Margaret. Spoilers ahead, by the way. I still had a moment where, and this is kind of funny because on Threads today, someone posted that they were watching the movie Weapons from this year, and they said, what the fuck is this movie? And I replied and said, that's a valid response, because when I saw it in the theater by myself And there was a moment in Weapons where I said out loud, "What the fuck?" because it was shocking and weird. And I said the same thing in this movie, the moment where uh, Greer Garson was revealed to be this guy's secretary. So the basic story is this dude in World War One is gassed. He loses his memory. He's in an English asylum, and he's going under the name John Smith because they don't know who he is. He meets this woman who's like an actress in a traveling show, and they fall in love very quickly as they do in these movies, and they sort of escape. I can't like I miss some things, but they get married. She gets pregnant. She has a kid, and so it's several years later now. I think it started in 1917, 1918. It was right at the end of the war. This is about 1920. He gets hit by a taxi, regains his memory to who he was before he lost it when he was in the war. Thinks it's still the war, and loses all the memory of the life he made with this woman. Goes on to, his father had just died. When he gets home, he finds out his father just died, left him a house and a fortune, and he starts to build a business out of it. And like 12 years go by, and like probably like 10 years after this, he gets a new secretary, and they reveal that it is in fact his wife, but he doesn't recognize her. He hired her as his secretary. He doesn't recognize her. And that was the moment where they showed her, where I said, "What the fuck?" Because it's crazy. And then the rest of the movie is like her trying to find ways to trigger his memory. And this was crazy too. When he goes back, he has a niece who's, I guess, not really a niece, but is 15. And she's like instantly in love with him. And, basically tells him at one point, "Oh, well, in 3 years, I'll be 18, so you can marry me then." And she finishes high school. I think she goes to college. When she's finished, then she wants to marry him, and he wants to marry her. And this dude's like, he was pretty much like 13 years older than Greer Garson. And now he's like, this girl is like another 10 years younger, probably, or more. So crazy. And they've written love letters to each other, or she sends love letters to him all the time. She's in school and everything. So anyway, his wife there becomes his secretary. The baby died during this time, and she saw his picture and a story in a magazine and found out that it's him, and becomes his executive assistant under her real name, hoping that her presence will jog his memory. And then she has a doctor from the asylum who is also in love with her, helping her to try to get him, to remember stuff. And in the end, they end up going back to the place, and he sees the asylum and everything, and he kind of remembers. And no, wait. He gets married to her. Like at a certain point, he proposes to her, still not knowing that she's already his wife. And I think she had the marriage like declared void or whatever, because he had been not found for 7 years or something. But he gets married to her again and proposes to her as if it's like a business merger, which is flattering. She sort of is sickened by it a little bit and decides to leave. And meanwhile, he goes out and ends up somehow at the asylum and starts remembering stuff. And then he goes to their house, and she shows up there, and he remembers her, and they say, "Oh, you," and they kiss, and it ends. Batshit crazy. It was insane. And this is with me not even fully paying attention the whole time. All that said, still didn't love it. 3 stars. It's fine. It's just, it was just very slow. It took too long to get to the point. Could have cut some stuff out. But yeah, kind of crazy. I don't normally like just relaying the whole plot, but there you go. It's probably a little longer than it needed to be. 3 stars. Batshit crazy. See you next time.